Welcome back again. Today's reading comes from Luke chapter 16 verses 1 to 14, the parable of the shrewd manager. There was a rich man whose manager was accused of wasting his possessions. So he called him in and asked him, "What is this I hear about you? Give an account of your management, because you cannot be manager any longer." The manager said to himself, "What shall I do now? My master is taking away my job. I'm not strong enough to dig, and I'm ashamed to beg. I know what I'll do so that, when I lose my job here, people will welcome me into their houses." So he called in each one of his master's debtors. He asked the first, "How much do you owe my master?" 900 gallons of olive oil, he replied. The manager told him, "Take your bill, sit down quickly, and make it 450. Then he asked the second, "And how much do you owe?" 1,000 bushels of wheat, he replied. He told him, "Take your bill and make it 800. The master commended the dishonest manager because he had acted shrewdly. For the people of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own kind than are the people of the light. I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourselves, so that when it is gone, you will be welcomed into eternal dwellings. Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much, and whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. So if you have not been trustworthy in handling worldly wealth, who will trust you with true riches? And if you have not been trustworthy with someone else's property, who will give you property of your own? No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." The Pharisees, who loved money, heard all this and were sneering at Jesus. He said to them, "You are the ones who justify yourselves in the eyes of others, but God knows your hearts. What people value highly is detestable in God's sight. Worldly wealth is based on selfish ambition, whereas godly wealth is always for the benefit of God's kingdom work and blessing others. The world's motivation for accumulating wealth is for the owner to monopolize, having exclusive possession and control. But God delights in His children prospering so they can be generous distributors of His goodness to others. Isaiah chapter 32 verses 7 to 8 says, "The instruments and methods of the fraudulent and greedy, for gain, are evil. But the noble, open-hearted, and liberal man devises noble things, and he stands for what is noble, open-hearted, and generous." The key to this parable is, for the people of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own kind than are the people of the light. Jesus is telling us how people of the world look out for themselves in a way that God's people often neglect to and should. While Jesus encourages us to look out for ourselves, He also encourages us to think long-term and to store up heavenly treasures instead. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust consume and where thieves break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Matthew chapter 6 verses 19 to 21. He wants us to use our finances in a way that will help others. If you invest money, invest it into something that will please the Lord and benefit the family of God. When you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. Matthew chapter 6 verses 3 to 4. But love your enemies, do good to them, and lend to them without expecting to get anything back. Then your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High, because He is kind to the ungrateful and wicked. Luke chapter 6 verse 35. Jesus said, in Matthew chapter 25 verse 40, "What you've done for the least of these, you've done unto me." If we were shrewd like the manager in this parable, we would go out of our way to do as much as we possibly could for these people. This pleases God, and He promises to reward behavior like that. Revelations 22:12 says, "Look, I am coming soon. My reward is with me, and I will give to each person according to what they have done." With this in mind, why wouldn't we do everything possible to please Him? Thank you being here today. I hope to see you again next week, and God bless. That will do it for today. I hope to see you here next week. Thank you and God bless.